I'd like you to take us through the activities and mandates of your ministry. What's the ministry? What is it all about?
So thank you for having me for this interview. So, this is a new ministry that really is looking specifically at art, culture, creative industry, the first of its kind. While we've had culture before, the component of creative industry is the first time. So what we have done as a ministry has come to look at the way that we can really leverage on the great strides that our creatives are doing and the interest in our culture and the resource that we have with our culture to see that we develop something that will really benefit the country by giving it economic growth, but at the same time giving it cultural growth, making Nigeria the hub of Africa in terms of creativity and culture, and at the same time bringing an enabling environment for creatives where they can really thrive. So my ministry came in with an 8-point agenda, that really looked at the things that was needed to really put a structure in place. As I said to you, this is a new ministry. We used the sort of benchmark countries that have done great in the creative industry, and such as South Korea, such as Japan, America, and so on. So our 8-point agenda really looks at fostering partnerships. Partnerships is key for sustainability and for a legacy. And at the same time, collaboration, cross-collaboration between intergovernmental collaboration and collaboration with key players in the industry. Of course, I spoke about enabling environment. Enabling environment is really what we're looking to set out. And then Destination 2030. This is a very key and innovative, dynamic initiative that we have where we hope to leverage on the content that we have of our creativity and our culture to really reposition and change the narrative of Nigeria. Everybody is interested in, Nigeria and what we have to offer, and also policy framework, because there's no policy really to support the growth and really the securitization of the industry. So that is another key part of the strategy that we have in place. So it's 8 points agenda that we have, and these 8-point agenda has also led to 14 key initiatives that really fall to the base of this 8-point agenda. And these initiatives are really going to drive the growth that we're looking for in terms of the economy, job creation, and so forth.
Okay, that sounds so very interesting. Talking about economic growth and development, and of course, looking at global partnership, recently you attended a program, you attended the 66 Grammys in Los Angeles, and you had an interview with OK Africa, where you talked about the vision, your vision for Nigeria and of course by extension Africa. Can you share that vision? In terms of the creative industry.
My vision really is, like I said, leveraging on the creative and cultural industry to bring an economic expansion, not just to Nigeria, and also to extend that to Africa. $100 billion is what we're hoping. We're projecting we can contribute to expand the GDP by 2030, and of course job creation as well, and this will extend to the rest of Africa. And of course, again, one very key part of the creative industry is the ability it has to unite generally people. That's a language that really resonates. And I think the whole of Africa, when we talk about the music, the art, this is one area that I really want to continue. We've already started conversations with several nations in Africa, and of course the conversation with the Grammy that we're looking to do, the African Grammy, is also part of the extension of that conversation. So we really want to look as how we can tap into that to continue the unity that can really bring Black people together. And like I said, job creation as well.
Okay, that's really nice. Talking about uniting the continents, I'm really passionate about the Africa Continental Free Trade Area that was launched, and it's something I've really been working on. And so I want to know talking about promoting the creative industry within the sub-region, what strategies do you have in place to promote regional collaboration and integration within the African sub-region?
I think within the African sub-region, of course, is those core partnerships that we continue to talk about. Part of what we hope to do is also to have cultural diplomacy, and this cultural diplomacy is going to extend beyond Africa. You look at a country such as Brazil, such as Cuba, that have indigenous Nigerians. They still speak Yoruba. You go to Saudi Arabia, you have indigenous Hausa people that have, their grandparents have never been to Nigeria. There's a lot of, the population alone, where we continue to talk about the statistics, where 1 in 5 Africans happen to be a Nigerian, and at least 60% of the people in the world is going to interact with a Nigerian sometime in their life. 1 in 8 black people all over the globe is of Nigerian descent. So there's a real power in that. And I think as Nigeria, especially now that people have an interest in the culture, content and the talent, this is one way we can really do and foster those partnerships, those cultural diplomacies. And, the project such as the African Grammy is one of the ways that we can really foster that relationship. Some of the other homegrown talents that we're supporting, such as the Headies, the awards, the AFRIF, these are ways that we can really draw in people within the sub-region and even beyond Africa to see how we can have a convergence of like minds and to look at what makes us stronger as black people and as a continent.
Okay, talking about supporting the creative industry, you agree with me that Nigeria is blessed with human capital.
Yeah.
That's, for me, I think, is our strength, is our competitive advantage, and it's something, if it's properly annexed, we can have results, and of course can also bring in foreign direct investment. Does your ministry have strategic initiatives and policies, to annex Nigeria versus human capital in terms of in the creative industry sector?
Well, that's at the core of our mandate, is to really try to harness that. And that's why I spoke to you initially about our 8-point agenda that looks at, really strategic policies. And these policies, of course, we start with IP. And Nigeria has literally gone to the end of delivering IP, intellectual property policy, and cultural policy as well. We're working with NESG, the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, which we signed an MOU to develop and deliver a number of policies. So we start with IP, cultural policy follows, incentive policy follows, monetary policy follows, and then you have the creative economy policy. So this is all to put in that enabling environment that we're speaking about. And when you're talking about, again, trying to harness, given that environment that will be able to harness those within the industry to really flourish. Infrastructure is key. There's a dearth of infrastructure in Nigeria to really support the growth of the industry, and that is again at the core of our mandate. Nigeria is planning a number of infrastructure projects that is really gonna give that environment that will allow creatives within Nigeria to flourish, and in allowing them to flourish in Nigeria, it gives us the ability to expand that GDP, to bring the value back into Nigeria, and at the same time to empower young Nigerians that may not have the ability to, have the kind of network. We've come up with a fantastic, innovative digital platform called CLAP, Creative Leap Acceleration Program, that is part of that infrastructure apparatus that we're putting in place to give the platform and the network and the access, the capacity building, the training that will give them the ability to have job creation, job opportunities, all within that CLAP that we've come up with. And we intentionally made it digital so that it can reach every single corner of Nigeria. And if of course, we have to take in macroeconomic considerations. So once we've done our part, our hope is that every MDA is going to play their part to put in the right infrastructure in place that will allow us to flourish, such as internet connectivity.
That sounds really, really amazing. Coming from the ministry. Talking about still on the priority, the ministry priorities and policies and initiatives. what opportunities do you see for Nigeria's arts and culture sector in the global market, and how will you capitalize, on these opportunities?
There's a huge amount of real estate in the global market for Nigerians, especially given that we're at a time where Nigeria is having a huge moment. The whole world is interested in us, not because of anything, but our content, our talent, our creativity. And this is what the ministry hopes to leverage on, to bring this expansion in several stratas. But at the same time, we want to use it to reposition Nigeria. Destination 2030 is one of our key 8-point agendas, and it's one of our key initiatives. And this key initiative that we're going to use, we're going to take global. We've already taken it global, but we're going to expand it, whereby we're going to look at not only music, film, art, fashion, but also our cuisine. So many different areas whereby we can, as a people, really sell ourselves. Once we've done that, it creates better chances for Nigerians. And once we put in the policy in place, the infrastructure in place, it gives Nigerians, from no matter where you come from in your rural destination or community, it gives you the ability to go global and have the chance to create resource for yourself, and that will again bring value back into the country.
So let's look at our culture. That's another interesting market for Nigeria. How do you intend to preserve Nigeria's rich cultural heritage, particularly in the face of modernization and globalization? How do you preserve our culture?
I think one of the things I didn't mention when I spoke about the 8-point agenda was the preservation of rich cultural of our cultural heritage. So that is again a core of one of the core mandates for us as a ministry. Culture is everything. Culture is who we are, is our tradition, is our ideal, is our values. And the importance of culture cannot be overstated. The fact that Nigerian communities or societies, some societies, are going astray is because we are sort of diverging away from our cultures. So the preservation of culture is key, is at the center. Museums is part of the infrastructure project that we talk about. We need to preserve our cultural heritage by ensuring that we maintain our museums. By maintaining the museums, by going into partnerships, PPPs essentially. I really do believe in PPPs because I talk about the sustainability component and factor. And so the museums is one way. Also a number of programs that we're going to be doing through the educational sector, whereby we sell the culture specifically to the young people. And of course our cultural heritage, it's very important for us to bring back our artifacts. Our artifacts is again, it's part of who we are and our ancestry, right? So our artifacts that have been taken, especially our artifacts are lost, our stolen artifacts have to be brought back to Nigeria. This is one area that I'm very, I'm going to be gung-ho on in terms of bringing back our artifacts. But also, in order to do that, we have to support them by doing what is in the best interest of those artifacts, making sure we have the right storage space, such as the museums that I was talking to you about. We're working with one of our agencies, NCMM, to expedite the building of storage facility that will keep our artifacts. And then some of our artifacts we also keep on loan, whereby the global community can have access to it. And in having access to it, it will draw interest back into Nigeria, and it will help with the tourism and with the different expansion that I continue to talk about.
Yeah, you talked about education, and I'm wondering, is there any plan to introduce our culture, from the colleges, schools, so that as the student, as this pupils, as they come up, they get to know the culture from the onset. Is there any initiative on that?
Well, that's the plan.
Okay.
That's the plan.
Okay.
We have to work with the Ministry of education, obviously, for that, and also in conjunction with the NOA orientation, Nigerian Orientation Agency. One of my agencies, NICO, is working hard to see that we bring that back, not just at the universities, at the very basic level of education. As a young Nigerian, as you come up, you should have access to the beauty abound in our culture, and that will help you really discover yourself, who you are as a person. Culture is important for us also as a people, a very diverse people, a very differently diverse people, right? Who, for us to understand the beauty in all the different cultures. So in us looking at culture, coming up with a number of initiatives, which we do have, there's a number of brand projects that I'm doing, and some of these initiatives fall within those brand projects. It's really for us to learn the beauty of Nigeria and know that that diversity is really our strength as a people, and hold it with our head held up high, and also use some of the foreign missions to see that we are able to export that culture. So some of our key foreign missions abroad, we will have a presence, of course, working in conjunction with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Ministry, I think, of Housing, some of the ministries. So that's why I say key collaborations with the different MDAs. So working with them to see that we have presence of our culture. And we're coming up with a very, very innovative and exciting project. It's called the Abuja Creative City. Wow. The Abuja Creative City is going to be a one-stop shop for the 49 subsectors within the cultural industry. And within the Abuja Creative City, I mean, we're talking about 200 hectares of beauty, of creativity, of culture, whereby you can go into this creative city, and when you walk into one part, you see this culture. You walk into another part, you see another culture. My hope is that we're able to cover at least 240 different cultures, so that when we go in there, we realize that this is one of our resources. This is the key resource, and the key, they talk about the oil, but this is the wealth in Nigeria lies within our culture.
That sounds like an industrial park.
Creative. Something like that. It's going to be like a free trade zone as well. Yeah. And we want it. We hope.
Excited. I'm smiling.
No, it's beautiful. When I think of the idea in my head, and my hope is that we have even a 5-star hotel there, so that when you go there, it's like a full city. And when you go there, everything is there, but it's a full city that really focuses on the creative industry and the cultural industry, and then of course on tourism as well.
That's because I was just thinking of, I've not seen it before, looking at a situation where we have like a food drive festival, where you have different cultures, have display of meals and all that. Then have foreigners come and just experience the richness of Nigeria hospitality industry.
And of course the festivals, you said about the festivals. I mean, I just discovered recently we have over 1,000 festivals in Nigeria. Now, while we may not be able to cover every single festival, but we will cover as many as we can to give credence to those who believe, and those who practice and participate in that festival. So we want to support the festivals, and we want to also support the private sector who have done their own festivals, like I spoke about AFRIF earlier on. Things like this, there's just so much that can be done. And this ministry is where Nigeria's happy place lies. So in anything that we go through as a nation, if we're really able to cultivate this ministry and the cultural and creative industry properly, I think it will give Nigerians more of an impetus, more of a rallying point, and more of just encouragement to really strive and be proud of who they are, which is one people, one nation, and as a Nigerian.
Okay, Honourable Minister, of course, the federal government of Nigeria is working so hard to diversify the economy, looking away from oil. Yeah. So, how are you going to harness the potential of the creative industry to be able to diversify, Nigeria's economy, and also at the same time stimulate entrepreneurship in Nigeria in order to export our, rich cultural.
Yeah. So one of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's within his manifesto was his dream of diversifying away from the ordinary means of growth. Priority 7, I think, that's where creative industry comes in. And so, like I said, we plan to harness it fully, especially using the great successes that Nigerians are having globally. So that 8-point agenda that we spoke about, which is, collaboration, partnerships, Destination 2030, preservation of cultural heritage, so many policy frameworks, infrastructure, enabling environment. That is the base. The 14 initiatives that fall into that, that is going to build up to us working towards, creating this $100 billion to expand the GDP, contribution to the GDP, and then job creation. Yeah, job creation. The way we can help is this issue of training and capacity building, and just giving ordinary Nigerians, young Nigerians of a younger demographic specifically, the ability to really tap into the resources that the government is opening up, tap into this platform, so that it's not an elitist thing. It's not something that only those that have the connection or the network. Now we're creating this platform, and again through CLAP, whereby we will open this conversation up to every single Nigerian that will have that access. So once you have those basis in place, and of course the policy is very key, and then the brands, we have a number of brands that we've come up with that we think especially the investment community and the private industries may well look at the worth in it and the value in it. And these brands are also part of how we will, give that enabling environment provided. I think we've been able to cover most of the bases. And then what we've also done is come up with Renewed Hope Renaissance Project. It's called Renewed Hope Renaissance State Project, which hopes to do a handshake between the federal government and the state governments, coming up with a template for each state. Each state has a unique peculiarity about it, and each state has what it wants to harness in terms of creativity and in terms of culture. Some states is their museums, some is their monuments, some is their artifacts. Some, for me, my vision is for each state, at least there will be one cultural creative creative district, or so to speak, whereby everything creativity, you can go there. Whereby you can have film studios, you can have hubs. We're talking about hubs, incubators, and accelerators, clusters in almost every single. We're going to start with the 6 geopolitical regions. Then we hope to expand that to the states. Hopefully, the states, it will now be expanded to the 3 senatorial districts in every single state, whereby you can go within your community and go into this hub, record your music, do your auditions or whatever. Now the world is a global village. So once you have internet connectivity, you can reach anywhere in the world. So these are some of the infrastructure projects that we hope to put. And by putting those in place and the resource that CLAP is going to offer in terms of that capacity building and job creation, what you'll find is you will empower these young creatives to get jobs. And lastly, I must mention Big Win. We signed a MOU with Big Win to create jobs for 2 million young people by 2030. My hope is that we'll be able to expand it beyond that. So job creation is really part of what we have to do.
In fact, I was going to ask that question, even though I think you have answered, because I was looking at the support from the government for young Nigerians, because Nigerians are very talented.
Too talented.
That's why when Nigerians go out of the shores of this country, they do very well.
Yes.
So I was going to ask if there's an incentive or funding mechanism in place available for creative businesses. Is anything like that?
Yes, as you would know, IDICE is a fund that has been created for the digital and the creative industries.
Okay.
And so you have IDICE, we're working through the process. I think we're almost at the implementation stage where we can do dispatch for creative businesses. The ministry as well is working on a number of special purpose vehicles that we hope will get FEC approval and Federal Executive Council. And once we get the approval, there will be a creative economy development fund that will be able to give young creatives that funding that they require, and also a creative economy infrastructure corporation that will also be able to give the infrastructure that is required. We're also working with a number of foreign investment communities and the banking community as well. As you would have heard, we're working to, we have not finalized it, but we are on the verge of finalizing it. Afrexim did announce, while I was at UNGA, $200 million to help us expand the creative industry. So that, again, is another way that we can support creatives. We're going to do a very meticulous process to ensure that once we have finalized on the dispatch and the mechanisms that will go with that, we will ensure that we do it in a way that will really maximize our effort to benefit from this resource that Afrexim has given us.
Sounds so interesting.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about
I'm excited too.
So, of course, in all of the beautiful initiatives, mandates, policies that you have and opportunities, are there challenges in actualizing this?
I what I would say to you, my main challenge, what I found, because you have so many good ideas.
Yeah.
You have so many things that you want to do, and you want to do it yesterday, right? So my main challenge is things are not happening as quickly as they should, but there's a reason for that, because it's a new ministry, and I wanted to do things the right way. They often say, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. I mean, I think George Washington said that. So it was important for me to do a very meticulous process. For example, with the IP, intellectual property policy, we needed to do a proper stakeholder engagement, bring everyone round the table. So you carry everybody's input is germane in order to have something very comprehensive and holistic. So, things are not happening as fast as I would have wanted them to. But that's because we want to do a thorough job. We want to do a proper deep dive to interrogate even all the initiatives and the policies that we want to put in place. Even once it's brought to my table, I interrogate it over and over because I want to see how foolproof it is and, close all the lacunas. I guess that's the main challenge. And of course, the other challenge is, the creative industry especially has thrived in spite of government. Many of them do not really need government. So in bringing, this is the first time government has ever paid any interest to the creative industry. So as a government coming in and paying that attention, you have to prove yourself and prove your authenticity and the fact that you're really committed to working with the industry to help them. So I guess that's the challenge. So you kind of have to navigate it in a way that will give them comfort that for the first time government is here to do the right thing.
Okay, final one. According to the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, it states that the creative economy is one of the world's fastest growing.
Yeah, there you go.
creating job opportunities, livelihoods for millions of people globally. So how are you? I mean, this is just a fact, because you said something about going into states and all that.
Yeah.
And if government is able to harness the different opportunities that you have, I think that will bring in foreign direct investment.
Yeah.
A lot of people want to come to Nigeria. There's a lot of opportunities.
Yeah.
Whole lot of opportunities in Nigeria. So is this part of what your ministry is looking at?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Creating jobs.
This is it. 2 million jobs by 2030, and I hope we can find strategies that will be able to expand that. And this is what we need to do, especially for the young people. The young people that want hope. And like you said, the creative industry really is the future. This is where it is. This is where the conversation needs to go. And this is the one place, when I talk about oil all the time, I said not everybody in Nigeria has the network to work in an oil company. But everybody can create content in their little communities, or even in their living rooms, right? So in their villages, in their huts, they can create content. So the creative industry is where the real resource of this nation really lies. And that's why it's important for me to put the right structure in place that will create the right foundation, a strong fortified foundation. Once that is created, you will find that enabling environment, I know it sounds very trite. Well, you keep on talking about enabling environment, but essentially that's what we're trying to do, to create an enabling environment so that these young people can have an opportunity to have this job creation. And when we talk about the economic expansion, that will also be distilled down to empower the government in a way that it can continue to empower and employ young people.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. So what do you have to say about our viewers concerning your project, your initiatives, and of course the ministry? One word for our viewers.
One word?
Yeah, or more words.
Well, what I can say, a couple of words. Nigeria is undeniable. I'm humane, I'm a Nigerian, I'm a giant to reign, and you will see this especially through the creative and cultural industry. That
is it with the Honourable Minister of Art, Culture and Creative Economy, Her Excellency Hannatu Musawa. Two key words I got from her. She said, Nigeria is undeniable. I mean, this is where you need to be. And of course, she said something very profound, that the ministry is Nigeria's happy place. Is that the ministry is where Nigeria happy place lies. So thank you very much, and we look forward to your comments and also your review on our interview. Thank you. I present this to you. This is our work, and we look forward to having you on our cover very soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Musa.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you. I appreciate it.